Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon it is. 2 cents coming at you today. No show this afternoon, but I do want to tape my Week 2 NFL predictions. Welcome, everybody. And sorry I couldn't do a show today. Just got family obligations and just not able to really do anything today, so I got to make this really quick. It's been a very interesting week, to say the least. And if you're following college football at all, man, things are starting to fall apart a lot sooner than everybody, I think, expected. This is week 3, and the top 5 is a major shakeup already. And, Alabama getting upset, and, of course, the number 1 team, Ohio State, struggling against Northern Illinois. It's going to be a shakeup. It's going to be a rocky season. The college football season is going to be wacky if it's evident by the first 3 weeks. But without further ado, what I would like to go ahead and do is go ahead and get on with the NFL football Week 2 predictions here from 2 Cents Sports and Entertainment. I did not do too well on Thursday night. I had to pick the Chiefs to win. They did blow that game against the Broncos, contrary to what people believe. Fantasy points do not tell whether somebody's necessarily doing well or not. Peyton Manning did put up some fantasy numbers, but sorry, folks, if you're watching the game for what it really is, there's definitely some issues with going on with Peyton Manning. Maybe washed up wasn't the appropriate word for my post the other night, but he's definitely on the decline. I would be extremely concerned moving forward. This is picking up kind of where he left off the second half of last year. It's more than just injuries. It's a physical thing. His experience and knowledge obviously will do still well for him going forward, better than probably half the league's quarterbacks that are starting too. But so they do have that going for him. But I would be extremely concerned with Peyton Manning moving forward. Let's move on to the 1 o'clock games really quick. Of course, we got the top game here, the Patriots and Bills. Patriots just going about their business. You're not hearing a lot about them this week for a change, with the exception of the Steelers still crying about this and that. And Bills, though, let me tell you, Rex Ryan has definitely instilled the Rex Ryan attitude in that team very, very quickly. Bills fans, Bills players, the team, they are doing everything they can to poke the bear. I got to warn you, you poke the bear is not a good thing. This is week 2, and it is in Buffalo. This is one of those games. The Patriots generally seem to start off very slowly to start the year. This is one of those games. We got Rex Ryan now. Always finds a way to get a game from the Patriots. Through the season with his years with the Jets. This may be one of those games. Going up to Buffalo. Although again, there's a lot of bulletin board material for the Patriots to run with. And that Bills defense really looks phenomenal. Saw what they did to the Colts last week, so that is a little bit concerning. Again, the Patriots historically not starting off the regular seasons very well. Last year's Super Bowl team started off 2-2, and many people were writing off Tom Brady, I guess much the way I did Peyton Manning last week. In Week 4, after getting blown out by the Kansas City Chiefs on a Monday night. However, they went on a roll from there, as everybody knows, and subsequently, blew out the Bengals the following week. I hate to go against my Patriots this week, but my heart tells me that they're going to win this game because of all the other things. History, though, is telling me that this is the kind of game going into Buffalo, a Rex Ryan football team. The Bills fans are going to be absolutely fired up. Weather's not going to be a factor. And again, it's one of those early season games. The Patriots have had an extra couple days of practice. It just seems like one of those trap games, again, where the Patriots just seem to, lose a game early on in the season to a rival, much like they did Miami last year. I'm gonna go with the Bills this week. Again, just to show also that I can be unbiased. Again, my heart tells me the Patriots are going to win this game. Just something about just historical context is what's actually making me pick the Bills today. Next 1 o'clock game, we'll go ahead and let's go with the Tennessee Titans and Cleveland Browns game. No one really need to talk about this one too much. I highly doubt that if Marcus Mariota is going to repeat what he did last week, he has an opportunity to do that here with against Cleveland Browns. I do not foresee that happening. Not that he's going to have a bad week, but it's certainly another good week for a good matchup for Mariota. Another matchup between Heisman Trophy winners. Of course, this is Johnny Manziel's first official start now for the Browns, as they have ruled out Luke McCown due to concussion issues. So we got Marcus Mariota against Heisman Trophy winner from 2 years ago, Johnny Manziel. It is in Cleveland. I expect Cleveland fans to be very rowdy. Cleveland played pretty tough for early on against the Jets last week, and I think they can do that again this week. Let's pump the brakes a little bit on Mariota. Let's see what he does today. But again, we've got to put it in perspective. It is against the Browns, and of course that Bucs defense last week is a little bit to be desired. So I am gonna go with the Titans in this one though. They just showed me something last week. I did see it live. We'll find out this week if Bishop Sankey was for real, and we'll find out if Mariota was what everybody was getting on his bandwagon for after 1 week against that horrible Bucs defense. But I'm going to go with the Titans this week. Next up, we got the Texans and the Panthers. Another 1 o'clock game. Panthers have ruled out Luke Kuechly this week. That's a huge loss for them defensively. He's the defensive team leader over there, leading tackler as well. That's a big loss. Again, concussion issues, so hopefully that won't be a long-term deal for them. But with Luke Kuechly out, it is in Carolina. I think the Texans are a little bit disappointed in how flat they came out last week. J.J. Watt was still an animal last week. I have a strong suspicion that the Texans will rebound this week. I like the Texans today. Next 1 o'clock game, we're going to go with the Cardinals and Bears. And in this one, it's going to be Bears surprised me last week. I got to be honest with you. Not expecting much from the Bears. I don't think anybody really is. But Bears showed up last week and played very tough against the Green Bay. Now, of course, you know that is a rivalry. That is a rivalry game, so that was to be expected. So maybe that had a lot to do with it. And I was in Chicago. Chicago is at home again this week against the Cardinals. But the Cardinals are a very good team, and I really like the Cardinals in this game. Cardinals they are missing Andre Ellington today, so Chris Johnson gets the start there. And look for David Johnson to get a little extra carries. It's a rookie who, only got 5 touches last week, but got a nice long run for a touchdown. Could be a guy that's going to supplant Chris Johnson before the year's up. Bruce Arians just isn't keen on rookies. He's a little bit old school, but I think this kid has got something in him. So we'll see what happens there. But I do like the Cardinals over the Bears. The Bears, we'll see what the Bears bring this week. Was last week a lot to do with the rivalry, or are the Bears maybe not as bad as everybody thought they were? We'll find out. Next on tap, we got the Chargers and Bengals, an interesting 1 o'clock matchup. That's kind of one of those games you would normally expect to kind of see at 4 o'clock. I'm going to look at this one pretty closely. It is in Cincinnati. The Chargers, got themselves in a hole last week, but showed a lot of heart and ended up coming back and winning that game against Detroit last week, which is, not an easy feat, although, Detroit is down a little bit. But Bengals, they came out solid. Now, again, of course, that was a little bit of perspective. That was against the Raiders, so a lot of people come out looking good against the Raiders. Bengals being at home, I really, I had Bengals winning their division this year. I'm going to stick with that, although I had the Chargers possibly challenging for theirs as well. I like the matchups a little bit better. I'm going to go with the Bengals this week on this one. Something just tells me I'm going to go with the home team. So next up, we got the Lions and Vikings, another 1 o'clock matchup, another division matchup. Very interesting. Speaking of falling flat, last week the Vikings very much fell flat against the 49ers. I'm not sure if that had so much to do with the Vikings, or if it was that maybe the 49ers are also a team that's not as bad as expected. Detroit is in the Minnesota. Minnesota, after watching Teddy Bridgewater last week, something I did talk about, that sophomore jinx, if you will, for quarterbacks. He did not look good at all. Adrian Peterson did not look good at all. Most people were expecting Adrian Peterson, including myself, to have a huge comeback year after having a year off and being fresh and so forth. But maybe having a year off hurt him more than we thought. Of course, the Lions did get ahead early, so that kind of changed the game plan a little bit. So we'll see if the Vikings can rebound at home. Both these teams, Detroit and Minnesota, are both indoor teams, so it might not make that much of a difference with regards to the home field. I'm going to go with the Lions in this one. Something about the Vikings, I feel, and I said it in my preview show, that the Vikings were an up-and-coming team. They did not show me a lot last week in a game that they very, very much you would have expected they would have won against the 49ers. So I like the fight that the Lions came out and had last year. This is a matchup that neither team can really afford. Well, they can afford to go 0-2, but it's probably not a very good idea. So one of these teams has to come out there victorious. Other 1 o'clock game, one that I will be paying attention to, unfortunately, this Buccaneers Saints game. Perhaps it's a good idea that the Buccaneers are on the road. We're all plenty aware of what happened to the Buccaneers last week, which is a debacle against the Titans. If the Buccaneers come out even remotely like they did last week, it's going to be another bloodbath for the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, though, have been playing better in New Orleans the last couple of years. I'm hoping that they've corrected some of the things that needed to be corrected, more on the defense. It really kind of is a shame that the Buccaneers got down like they did last week, because it really changed what the offense was able to do. It was kind of an unfair position for Jameis Winston, a rookie quarterback, to be put in under that pressure. Some of it due to his own self, of course, putting them in that position early as well. I got to go with the Saints here. The Saints are at home, though, and just there's nothing that tells me the Buccaneers are going to be that much more improved from last week. I'm hoping that I'm wrong. They've done it. They did it same thing last year. They got blown out. They come back, turned around, and played much better. But they are in New Orleans. Drew Brees is Drew Brees. I look for Drew Brees and Brandon Cooks to have a pretty good rapport today and probably put up some good points. Fantasy alert. Look for Brandon Cooks to probably have a breakout week this week. So if you have Brandon Cooks in your lineup, or if you play daily fantasy, Brandon Cooks teamed up with a Drew Brees is probably a good matchup for you today, given what we saw from the Buccaneers secondary last week. So unfortunately, sorry Bucks, I'm actually picking against both my teams today, and I'm not really happy about that. So I hope I'm wrong on both accounts. Got the Saints over the Buccaneers. 1 o'clock. Falcons and Giants. Falcons at the Giants. This one has all the makings of being a shootout. The Falcons really kind of showed me something last week against Philadelphia, not only because they won, but they won pretty, for the most part, almost convincingly. They really got out to a nice 20-3 lead, held Philadelphia first half to 3 points, which is fantastic. The Falcons aren't supposed to have that good of a defense, which is kind of amazing. Their offense was what it was and what it was expected. Julio Jones, of course, went off. The Eagles' defense is not that great. Falcons are facing another team, the Giants, who, again, surprised me as well last week. Should have pulled out that win against the Cowboys. We all know that clock management debacle there. I looked for this to be another shootout. The Giants are at home, yes, but I like this Falcons aerial attack. Eli Manning did not look very good last week. The Giants offense is expected to do good things, at least by myself and many others. They didn't show a lot last week, except Jennings did run the ball very well, which is good. But I like the Falcons' aerial attack. That Giants secondary is awful. I'm not sure why the Cowboys could not expose that sooner than they did last week. That Giants secondary is going to be in trouble today. Look for Julio Jones and a Matt Ryan hookup today to be a perfect combination if you have those two, or for a daily lineup and you can afford it in that salary cap. Great matchup, Matt Ryan and Julio Jones today. I've got Roddy White. Roddy White actually looked pretty good last week himself, so that could be another secondary option for the Falcons to put up some big points against the Giants today. Another 1 o'clock, another interesting matchup. Don't really see this one too often. 49ers at the Steelers. The 49ers, again, put up a great game last week, amazingly enough, and won. As I had predicted, I didn't think the 49ers would win much more than 3 or 4 games this year. If my predictions do not leave my mind, it's still quite possible. 1-0 doesn't make season does not make. 49ers at the Steelers, interesting matchup because I don't expect either one of these teams to be all that great. The Steelers did play Patriots pretty good Thursday night. They got a couple extra days of practice. The Steelers are at home. I'll tell you what, if that 49ers defense is for real, and they might be able to shut down the Steelers offense, which still looks up pretty good. Can D'Angelo Williams pull off again this week what he did last week against the Patriots? I'm not so sure. You would kind of expect it, but the thing with the 49ers, somehow they surprised me a lot last week, especially defensively. The Steelers are at home, however. I'm just not sure. I just don't know if Carlos Hyde was that for real too. I don't know that we can expect that from him again, although this Steelers defense is also pretty bad. If I'm going to have an upset pick today, it would be the 49ers over the Steelers. You know what? I was going to go with the Steelers in this game, but I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to have this as my upset pick today. I'm going to go the 49ers over the Steelers. Let's see if D'Angelo Williams can reproduce what he did. This will be his last week. Le'Veon Bell, thank goodness, comes back next week. Fantasy-wise, it's good for me. I'm going to take my upset pick this week, 49ers over the Steelers. Steelers at home. I think it's quite possible. Last 1 o'clock game, you got the Rams and the Redskins. Not an interesting matchup unless you're a fan of either one of those teams. That Rams defense it looks phenomenal. Yeah, they gave up some points against Seattle last week, but that was to be expected. That front line is solid. They made Seattle work for it last year. Surprisingly, the Rams offense came alive as well. Rams upset the Seattle Seahawks last week. I see the Rams having a much easier time in Washington today, and I look for the Rams over Washington. Now, last week was very interesting. 4 o'clock games that are coming up. Got another key matchup today. And we're going to start off with Ravens and Raiders. Ravens at the Raiders. Ravens this week just found out that Terrell Suggs is gone for the year. That is a huge, huge loss for the Ravens. I mean, that just changes a lot of things that the Ravens are able to do defensively. He's the defensive leader, of course. We'll see if Terrell Suggs comes back. There's talk that he should retire. We'll see what happens. A long way to go, but he's not going to be back this year. So we'll see how the Ravens can respond to that. Again, though, this is the Raiders. The Raiders did lose their starting quarterback, Carr, last week. So you got Matt McGlown going today. Even without Terrell Suggs, I think the Ravens are still got enough, at least offensively, which the Raiders don't have anything. They're offensive, but they are not offensive. The Ravens still Joe Flacco, Steve Smith, and Justin Forsett should have a great game today. So I look for the Ravens to go ahead and move. Rebound from last week and beat the Raiders. Next 4 o'clock game, we got the Dolphins and Jaguars. Dolphins defense, their offense kind of surprised me last week and didn't do quite as well as I would have expected. Jaguars offense didn't do as well as I thought they might do. They pretty much picked up where they left off last year, struggled immensely. They are in Jacksonville, which doesn't really matter. I like the Dolphins in this matchup defensively. I think that it's going to be another low-scoring game probably on both ends. Look for the Dolphins to take out the Jaguars today. 4 o'clock matchup. The last one of the day. I think a lot of people are looking forward to this matchup. Cowboys with that amazing comeback win last week over the New York Giants against the Philadelphia Eagles, who surprisingly lost to Atlanta last week. So this is a very important matchup early, second week. If Dallas wins this game, they go 2-0, and the Eagles fall to 0-2. And so although it's a 2-game lead, it's kind of a 2.5-game lead with the Cowboys will have that first game. So this is an extremely important game for the Eagles. It's in Philadelphia. The Cowboys, again, will be looking to go up 2-0 in the division, drop the Eagles to 0-2 to have to try to make that up. The Eagles are a big pick for the division win this season. I did ultimately pick them as well. The Cowboys were extremely lucky to get out of the New York alive last week, or out of that game against New York alive last week. I look for the Cowboys to put up a lot of points today, but I also look for the Eagles to do just the same. The Eagles at Philadelphia, I think the Eagles are a little bit upset from last week. The Cowboys showed some heart last week, but that's about all they showed. I got the Eagles winning this game today in Philadelphia today, 4:25. I'm looking forward to that matchup, although I'm probably going to miss most of it. Tonight, 8:30 game, we got the Seahawks and Packers. Rematch of last year's NFC title game, NFC championship game. We all know what happened there. Packers are at home. Seattle has got to still be reeling from losing to the Rams last week. Aaron Rodgers is just phenomenal at home. Hasn't thrown an interception in forever. At home, the Packers are at home. It's going to be a rocking place. Weather should not be a factor. Seattle's coming in there a little bit down. Their defense got exposed a little bit last week, and if anybody can continue that wave this week, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be hard to say that the Seahawks could go 0-2, but it's also going to be equally as hard to see the Packers go, 1-1. Although the Packers did seem to struggle against the Bears last week, they did things when they had to. I look for the Packers to kind of be able to do the same this week. With them being at home, I'm going to go with the Packers this week, dropping the Seattle Seahawks to 0-2, and there's still be no need to panic. Seattle's got plenty of time, and if anybody can rebound and have the division to do that, that would be Seattle. But I like the Packers in that matchup. Lastly, the Monday night matchup, the Jets and Colts. Jets defense looked phenomenal last week, but of course it was against the Browns, where I expect everybody's defense to look well against the Browns, especially with Johnny Manziel. The Colts shockingly were shut down and embarrassed by the Buffalo Bills last week. They got it going a little bit late, but at that point the game was out of control. I just don't see the Colts at home having those same struggles, although the Jets are equally as defensively strong as Buffalo was last week. But I expect that Andrew Luck and those Colts will rebound, get that offense going the way everybody's kind of expecting it to do. I just don't see any way the Jets could possibly go 2-0. I mean, it's possible, of course, but is that honestly anybody think that's going to do that? I got to go. I can't see the Colts dropping 0-2 either. I got to have the Colts at home on Monday night. Those are my picks, and of course I only went 8-8 last week. Week 1 is always tough, and of course there were some crazy things that went down. I'm already starting this week off 0-1, which is not good. Anyway, I hope to be able to put on a show next week for you all. And as always, I appreciate you tuning in to 2 Cents Sports and Entertainment. Those are my picks for Week 2 of 2015 NFL season. Have a great day, everybody.